Donald Trump is doing everything he can to distract, deflect, and cover up the ongoing questions surrounding his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And it's not just him. The entire MAGA media machine is working to bury this story. We even heard Sean Hannity openly brag that he never brings up Epstein at all. But others at Fox took a different path. And that choice just cost one host their show after they highlighted Trump's connection to Epstein and exposed the false narrative he's been pushing this week. We're going to break it all down. But before we do, please take a second to hit the like button. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It really helps support our work. Now, before we get into which Fox host was taken off the air and why, we need to look at the lie MAGA has been spreading about Trump and Epstein, the same one Representative Jasmine Crockett recently called out.
Something else that the Democrats on the House Oversight Committee published tonight. It's a tweet tonight, and it says, it has a picture, and it says, this picture, it alleges, it says, shows Epstein and a longtime Mar-a-Lago member joking about selling a fully depreciated woman to Donald Trump for $22,000 and $22,500. Can you explain what is being alleged here in this picture?
I mean, obviously, I didn't write it, but you know, from the looks of it, it does look like he engaged potentially. Now, I think that is more incriminating than the birthday. The birthday just makes him look like a creep, but this, it's joking about selling a woman. When and why is that ever funny? And why is it that they would say that he would be one that would be buying a woman? And to say fully depreciated, and it had some things that really made you feel like it was somebody that was young, because it was talking about the ability to learn, like a quick learner or something like that. I don't remember the exact language. But it's really disturbing. And honestly, it's really a sad day in this country that this is the guy that is leading our nation. I mean, we used to care about the morality of a leader, but when you're looking at this and you're looking at his actions overall, it doesn't seem like he has a moral compass or that he has an honest bone in his body.
Over the course of Donald Trump's ongoing attempts to downplay or cover up his connections to Jeffrey Epstein, one thing has become clear. He isn't only worried about protecting himself, he's also worried about protecting Epstein's wider circle of associates. That's why the Department of Justice has moved to block NBC News from obtaining the names of two Epstein-linked individuals who reportedly received payments of $100,000 and $250,000. Trump knows that once investigators begin pulling at that thread, the entire web could unravel. He understands he can't just shield himself. He has to shield others who could also be implicated, keeping the story hidden from public view. We've already seen how much information came to light when members of Congress subpoenaed records from the Epstein estate, including the so-called birthday book. That's exactly what Trump fears. While he may be able to lean on the DOJ to stall transparency inside government channels, he cannot stop subpoenas from reaching Epstein's associates. And that's why White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt has worked so aggressively to deny the credibility of the Epstein birthday book, pushing narratives that are simply not grounded in fact.
The other documents released by the House Oversight Committee contained a photo of Jeffrey Epstein holding an oversized check that was made out to him in the check from the president for $22,000 for a fully depreciated woman. I wondered if the president has any recollection of that, or what you guys make of that photo that was included in those documents.
Did you see the signature on that check? It is not Donald Trump's signature. It is absolutely not. The president did not sign that check.
The big excuse for Donald Trump not being a pedo, according to the White House, being that he doesn't sign his name that way, when all that we've seen again and again and again is Donald Trump's big, ugly, fat-marked signature across, of course, the worst legislation and executive orders in American history. But it's just laughable. And it also goes to show they think their supporters are stupid. And they are. MAGA is dumb. It's why the Fox propaganda outlet has felt so comfortable saying all the lies that they have about the Epstein files because they know that the crowd is going to buy it. Except for one Fox host who decided that he would actually say the truth about Donald Trump's birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein, to the check to Jeffrey Epstein. And now he doesn't have a show anymore. And I want to get into it all. This was Donald Trump's signature. Fox News panel affirms Epstein letter is legitimate. A Fox News panel agreed that Donald Trump likely signed a risque birthday letter to offender Jeffrey Epstein. On Sunday, Fox host Howard Kurtz noted that Trump repeatedly insisted he had never sent any birthday note even after House Democrats released a copy of the letter. The president was boxed in by his earlier denials and continued to say he had nothing to do with the message. The Fox News host remarked both he and his press secretary all but asking, "Who are you going to believe, us or your lying eyes?" Well, all of the other letters in the book, so far as we know, are authentic, right? Conservative reporter Sarah Bedford pointed out, it's extremely plausible that this was Donald Trump's signature. Donald Trump is really good at muddying the waters on things that he doesn't, want to acknowledge head on. But from a political optics standpoint, it doesn't make sense to me why the White House is spending so much political capital denying this. She continued, "The denial makes no sense to me." Fox Business reporter offered a different excuse for Trump. He probably doesn't remember signing it because I know the people that around Donald Trump says he signs a lot of stuff sometimes. He argued, and he might not even know where he was signing it. I mean, trust me, I know people that deal with Donald Trump. That is very plausible that he does not remember doing this. It looks like his signature, though, but he says no, Kurtz observed. And now, Fox News has an update to their weekend schedule with Howard Kurtz losing his Sunday show as the big weekend expands. Howard Kurtz has long been one of the very few Fox News hosts occasionally willing to acknowledge inconvenient truths. That doesn't mean he deserves applause, but it does make what just happened noteworthy. Kurtz is now off the air. His show canceled, his reporting pulled. And he certainly won't be covering Donald Trump's ties to Jeffrey Epstein anymore. What's striking is that Kurtz was one of the only Fox voices willing to say, when shown evidence, it looks like Trump's signature. He didn't dress it up with excuses. He didn't hide behind AI or fake photo claims. He simply said what everyone could see with their own eyes. And now, he's gone. This comes as Donald Trump himself is openly threatening to punish media outlets that dare to state uncomfortable truths about Charlie Kirk, that he wasn't a civil rights leader, that he wasn't a defender of free speech, and that his record includes bigotry and cheering on political violence. The right wants to rewrite history, but the reality is Charlie Kirk defended government crackdowns, even ICE raids that tore immigrant families apart, sending fathers away from their children. That was violence too, yet it was excused in the name of safety. Safety from what? The outrage only seems to appear when the victim is white. When the same violence was carried out against brown families, the right turned a blind eye. And that's exactly why Representative Jasmine Crockett's response on this hypocrisy was so powerful.
That's where I'm trying to figure out how can people who like Donald Trump or don't like Donald Trump understand that he seems to be building a police force that is not subject to the normal rules that either policing or military should be subject to. It's sort of a police force that's lacking accountability.
No, there is no accountability, and it's going after its American people, right? Like, the idea that any of us want to be unsafe in this country is absolutely absurd, right? I don't care what your political affiliation is. I don't care what your cultural background is. None of us want to be unsafe.
Yeah.
But we're not looking at the facts. We're not looking at the fact that immigrants, regardless of how many times you're going to cherry pick and say, well, there was this one immigrant that was here illegally and they ended up killing this one person. Well, for every immigrant that you have an example of, I'll raise you at least 2 to 5 white supremacists. racist, if not more, right? So like, you've got to look at who is it that is committing the crime, who is it that is committing certain types of crime, and then you need to figure out why, and then you go in and you say, this is how you reduce it. You and I talked about poverty, right? So if you are doing things that are going to increase poverty, whether we're talking about your terrible tariffs that are illegal as well, or whether we're talking about the fact that you are defunding healthcare, you are defunding food, you are now going after education and defunding education and want to get rid of the Department of Education as a whole, or you want to take our tax dollars and make sure you send it off to the private schools that don't have to take every single child, you are definitely compounding the issue. You are not fixing anything. You are making things worse because you have no idea what you're doing. No. You messed us up before. We ended up having the worst job numbers when you were in the last time. And guess what? We've got the worst job numbers now, especially when you start to look at the Black community. Yep. So listen, if we want to figure out how we are going to be safer, we probably need people that have actual intelligence and actually will pay attention to data and facts and go from there. But what they're doing right now, it almost feels like, you know, I've seen the memes about the purge and all these things. But as somebody who understands history, when I see ICE, I see slave patrols. Now, I never lived through the slave patrol period, but if you know the history of policing in this country, then you understand that they were born out of slave patrols. And now with the Supreme Court saying this, it's almost like you can just go grab them up. That is what they're saying. And that is a problem. We all should have a problem with that. But when you don't want to teach American history.
This is the police state that Donald Trump envisions, a country where people live in fear, constantly looking over their shoulder. His goal is clear: to use political intimidation and even violence against his critics. Not long ago, Trump even shared a post from a TikTok creator calling for laws that would let the government crack down on media companies for lying. Think about that. Fox News, the very network that often echoes his talking points, was the one actually sued and forced to pay hundreds of millions of dollars for misleading the public. Meanwhile, outlets like MSNBC didn't face those penalties because their hosts, Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, Ari Melber, weren't found guilty of spreading disinformation. Trump, on the other hand, hasn't won major defamation cases against the media. What he has done is use lawsuits and legal threats as weapons of intimidation. Not to prove truth in court, but to pressure companies into costly settlements. It's about fear, not facts. So let's be clear. The movement that actually defends free speech is not the right wing. It never has been. Their actions show the opposite, and that's why it's so important to keep calling them out. If you value this work, make sure to subscribe, drop a like, and leave a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.